probably know, China is quite a big country. There is almost 1.4 billion people living there, and the middle class is 300 million people, which is the equivalent of the entire population of the United States. They are already the second economy in the world, both by GDP nominal and GDP real. Social inequalities in China are lower than in the US, although still much higher than in Europe. And what is also very interesting, that working for a bowl of rice is long gone, because the salaries have been rising constantly for the last 20 years. And right now, average Chinese worker earns $800 a month. We have almost 720 million internet users right now in China, and 90% of them are accessing internet using their mobile devices, and only 30% using desktops. That's because they have a technology gap, and before they started using desktops, mobile arrived. And also, everybody in China can afford high quality and low price smartphones and tablets. The number of online shoppers in China right now is 300 million people, and the internet penetration rate is only 52%. So the potential for the market is tremendous, and it is twice lower than in the US and in Europe. I don't know if you knew, but China is already the biggest e-commerce market in the world. The online sales last year was $590 billion, whereas in the US it was only $350 billion. Also, online sales in total retail was 13%, whereas in the US it was only 8%. What's even more interesting, it is estimated that by 2018, online spendings in China will reach $1 trillion. So it's half of what we have globally right now, as my predecessor said. And the US online retail market will just exceed $500 billion. What's also very peculiar about Chinese e-commerce is that its astonishing growth is not oppressing brick and mortar shops. It's just shaping the new commercial activity characterized by omni-channel. One very important thing, well, there are lots of important things in Chinese market, but one that you need to remember right now is that they love coupons, discounts. They are willing to wait really a lot of time to get the best price. So when you're building a website for China, you need to add some nice functions regarding that matter. And the growing skepticism of the Chinese customers about their local products, because they really think that their products are much worse than ours from the West, and also the money that they have right now has led many of them to buy goods from abroad online. And also the Chinese government made it easier in recent years to purchase goods online from foreign websites for personal use and in small quantities. So since the Chinese are so eager to buy online, it's enough for us to sit back and wait until they enter our shops and start buying. Of course, we need to have an English version of our website, because if they are using internet, they certainly know English, right? So I wish you all luck and a great success. Thank you very much. Not so fast. As you probably expect, they are not going to enter our shops and just start buying, just like that. First of all, they really don't know English. The majority of Chinese population is non-English speaking. Second of all, there is the Great Firewall of China. All websites that are not hosted in China, so all foreign websites, are mostly not visible in China. The firewall is working randomly. The government would love to block all Western websites, and foreign websites in general, but it is impossible technically right now, so they are blocking websites randomly. So for example, your website can be visible in China now, but in an hour it won't be. Or it is visible in Shanghai, but not in Beijing. It's totally a random thing. But when you are considering selling in China and running an online store, it would be good to know that your store is always visible in China and accessible and loading and so on. So what options do you have? You can have hosting in mainland China, which is available only for companies that have branches or business entities in China. then your website is inside the Great Firewall, so it's loading straight away, no problems. If you are a foreign company, then you have to go for hosting in Hong Kong, which is actually half the price of the hosting in China. All websites hosted in Hong Kong are treated as Chinese websites, so they're always visible in China. They just need to go through very fast verification of the firewall, and they are loading 2 or 3 seconds longer. Then, if you want to be sure that you are visible in China, you also need a Chinese domain name. First of all, Chinese are very skeptical about foreign domains, therefore you need it. So, both in Latin and in Chinese alphabet, because as I said, they don't know English, so Chinese domain in Chinese alphabet is a must for you. There is also a very interesting fact that the government is not allowing of registering Chinese domain names if they are connected with Chinese government, pornography, gambling, and table tennis. And you also need the Chinese domain because foreign domains are practically not indexed by Baidu. And who knows what is Baidu? Yes? Please. Okay, you probably know. Baidu is the biggest search engine in China. Google is blocked. Everything connected with Google is blocked in China. So if you want to advertise, you need to use Baidu. It's Chinese version of Google. And in case of Baidu, you also can choose between search engine optimization and sponsored links. And Baidu AdWords account is called Phoenix Nest. Although Baidu is copying Google, it is totally different than Google. So using your Google strategies in China is a very bad idea. For example, setting up an account on Baidu Phoenix Nest is much more complicated than on Google. It takes 4 weeks. Administration panel is in Chinese only. And one Baidu Phoenix account can be used to promote only one website. Why so strict rules? Because Baidu in previous years was fined by the government for allowing companies to advertise illegal medicine, for example, and lots of other stuff. So right now they pay great importance on who can advertise what. And as you can see, the proportion between sponsored links and organic search is totally the opposite of what we know from Google. Like almost everything is sponsored, and only 2 or 3 last search results are organic. Then, if we are talking about search engine optimization, 6 months is the minimum, and the best results we get after 12 months. Then we can relax a bit because Baidu is not changing the algorithms as often as Google. Now, about e-commerce. E-commerce in China is becoming more and more professional and organized. As you can see, by 2010, most of sales, almost 90%, was passing through C2C marketplaces. So it was done by individuals. Right now, more than half of sales are done by registered companies in business-to-customer model. And who knows what is the biggest e-commerce platform in China? Actually, no. Alibaba is business-to-customer platform. And Alibaba Group is the owner of the 2 biggest platforms, Taobao and Tmall. And who knows what is the difference between them? First, it was only Taobao, but Alibaba Group decided that having thousands of products sold by individuals and by companies is disrupting the market. So in 2008, the division was made, and right now Taobao is customer to customer and Tmall is business to customer only. And so it is safe to say that Chinese e-commerce market is mainly driven by marketplace model, and the dominant position belongs to Tmall, which holds 58% of the market, and they have more than 70,000 brands sold by 50,000 merchants, brands both foreign and local brands. Then there is JD.com, which started life as an optical seller. Right now they are open platform, and they boost superiority in having their own logistics and storage, so something like Amazon. and they have 23% of the market. Then there is a huge multi-brand retailer who also allows third-party merchants to sell on it. It's called Suning, almost 4% of the market. Then there is VIP Store, which is flash sale platform. They are offering discounted goods, heavily discounted goods for a limited period of time. And guess what? 80% of their customers are women, accounting for 90% of their turnover. And the last one worth mentioning is GoMe. They have 1.5% of the market, and they specialize in home products, maternal and baby care. And Amazon China has less than 1% market share. What about eBay? When we are talking about Chinese market, there is one simple rule that prevails: adapt or die. And eBay didn't hear about that rule, so they lost the competition with Taobao. What they did is they sent a German manager and American chief technology officer to do the business there. Neither of them spoke Chinese nor knew anything about the business environment or the culture. They thought that it would be enough just to copy the American model, because if eBay has a strong brand awareness in the US, then and all over the world, then it certainly should have the same in China. So they spend a lot of money and a lot of time doing the wrong things. And today there is no eBay in China. At the same time, Taobao perfectly knew the market, and they gave customers services they really wanted and expected, even starting with the name, because Taobao in Chinese means digging for treasure. So by nice play on words, they got the attention of their customers. So right now, as I said, the market is mainly driven by marketplaces, and it seems to be embarrassing for e-commerce platforms, including Magento, regardless the reason led to this situation. On the other hand, the market is growing very fast, and it will require better service for customers, and standalone shops will definitely be in a rise in the next years. So there is a huge potential for Magento and similar solutions in China. In the meantime, companies, both foreign and local companies, they prefer to run stores on Tmall and JD.com rather than running their own stores. And because also the competition from the biggest B2C platforms is huge and leave no chances for newcomers. And Magento has already a local community in China, a community of developers, and a successful Magento conference, Magento.com China. So when we are talking about standalone shops in China, as you probably expect, 51% of them are built with EC Shop, which is Chinese-only solution. Then the next one is Taobao, 18%, and ShopX, almost 16%. All of them are Chinese backend systems. And then there's WooCommerce, which has 4.41% market share. And the number of Magento sites that has Chinese domain name is in China 2.73%. So Magento is already in China. And there are also Magento copies. Magento is a Magento copy. It has nothing to do with Magento, with official Magento. So both of these websites, Magento.com and Magento CN, these are Chinese copies of Magento. And when I contacted Magento community, they said they have nothing to do with it. And the advantage of the Chinese solutions like EC Shop and Magento copies is that they are all integrated for Chinese payment gateway. They are also integrated with Chinese social media. And they don't have the Shopify or Squarespace problems by being partially blocked in China because they don't run on Google jQuery. Because remember, as I said, everything that is connected with Google is blocked in China, including jQuery. And they are also, all of them are Chinese backend systems, so you need someone who knows the language to be able to operate them. So Right now, the Chinese e-commerce is mainly driven by marketplaces, and we can divide it into 4 groups. C2C marketplaces like Taobao, which have almost half of the market. Then there are business-to-customers platform like Tmall or JD.com, multi-brand retailers like Suning, private sales shopping, which is also very popular in China, like VIP Store, and the small portion of the market are standalone shops, which are mostly built with EC Shop and ShopX. But as you know, for Magento, there is a huge potential over there. And obviously, marketplaces are not able to treat customers as good as dedicated brand stores. So sooner or later, Chinese market will go more towards dedicated software solutions than still using marketplaces. And when you are building your store for China, the worst thing you can do is duplicating your Western website and just translating it into Chinese. Because Chinese has totally different approach and needs regarding the functions and the layout of the websites. As you can see, the KFC did a great job. They hired Chinese specialists and Western specialists to design and implement a Chinese website. And just right away, you can see that the difference is tremendous. Chinese love when there is a lot of going on the page. Everything has to be moving, blinking, shining, and all content is king. All vital information has to be accessible directly from the main page. Each click has to open a new window in the browser. A pop-up is a must. Whereas our websites are very, very elegant. And also, for the Chinese, building trust is very important. And the more text, the more content, the more trustworthy the website is. So when you are building a website for China, it has to be at least twice the length of the Western websites. Then there is localization. Please do not confuse it with translation, because localization is fully adjusting, is what you do to fully adjust the website to a local environment. So you need to take care of layout functionalities, graphics, even movies and pictures. And in China, the symbolism is very, very important. Everything has its meaning, like plants, animals, colors. Colors are very, very vital because, for example, black color is a color of luxury, whereas white color is a color for grief. So if you want to sell something in Chinese internet, please avoid white color, unless, of course, you are in a funeral business. And language. Language in China is also very symbolic, and even such big brands as Coca-Cola decided to translate their name into Chinese. First of all, Chinese doesn't speak English, so they don't know our characters. So Coca-Cola in Chinese is Kekoukele, and the meaning is joyful and tasty. Another great example is Nike, which in Chinese means enduring and preserving. And my favorite example is BMW, because in Chinese it is Baoma, and it means precious horse. Then there is Chinese social media. Every Chinese user spends 19 minutes per day on Chinese social media, and Chinese social media has a huge impact on e-commerce in China. Like really huge, because 38% of internet shoppers in China base their shopping decisions on the recommendations they read on social networks. So it is safe to say that almost 40% of online sales in China is driven by social networks. Also, the Chinese are content creators, whereas here in the West we are more, we are digesting the content, because only 20% of us bother to write any comments or post reviews, whereas in China 75% internet users are posting comments and writing reviews about the goods they purchased and also services and basically anything they had to do with it. So social media is really, really important. And the problem is that you cannot use our Western social media because Facebook, Twitter, all of them are blocked in China, like totally blocked. You may use VPN, but let's face it, no, it's quite complicated. So from the 720 million users, even if 10% is able to use VPN, which is also disrupted by the government, such connections are disrupted, then it's nothing. So forget about our social media. In order to talk to your Chinese audience, you need to use their social media. And they are totally different of what we know here in the West. In fact, they are so different that it is difficult to make a direct comparison between our social media and theirs. Just to give you a hint, the biggest one is Tencent QQ with 830 million registered users. It's an instant messaging software, but in China it's considered to be a social platform because you can make friends there, you can share music, there are social games, and so on. Then there is Qzone with 755 million registered users, social networking websites for writing blogs, sharing photos, music. Then there is China Weibo with 600 million registered users. It's a hybrid of Twitter and Facebook. And try to understand this. It's Chinese. Then there is famous WeChat, which is micro messaging app. And it is also a social platform in China, and it allows you to do shopping online. And they have 468 million registered users. And there is Youku. As you probably can tell, it's a Chinese version of YouTube, because YouTube is also blocked in China. Last but not least, mobile in China. Remember, as I said, that 90% of users are accessing internet using their mobile devices. So it is no surprise that the immense growth of e-commerce in China is mostly driven by mobile devices and by apps that are used by shoppers to purchase goods. And all dominating platforms like Tmall or JD, they already increased their mobile sales significantly. And all of the major platforms, they have dedicated apps for their shoppers to shop online. So when you're building your website for China, like mobile is absolute must, but preferably even a dedicated app to make the shopping for them easier when they are using their mobile devices. With its 700 million users and rapidly growing spendings in China, it is highly potential e-commerce market for new-coming branded software solutions, including Magento. Although current position of leading players like Tmall and JD.com is so strong that even big brands are choosing to set up online stores on the platforms. But many of them, at the same time, are going for standalone shops. For example, Adidas, they have a very strong brand awareness in China, and they have an online store on both Tmall and JD.com, and at the same time, they build their store with Magento. So the official Magento store, official Adidas China store is built with Magento. So if such a big player decided that it is worth to have online store in China next to the marketplaces, it is a very good sign. And the fact they built it with Magento just confirms this is a really great solution. And it is natural, and the most natural way of development for the Chinese market would be gradual fragmentation with the advent of big and of small and mid-sized shops. And imagine if the popularity of Magento in China was the same as it is in the US right now. Even now, we would need 120 times more shops to serve the current Chinese needs. And let's face it, no one can better understand the Chinese consumer than the Chinese themselves. So we at EnterChina are Chinese specialists and Western specialists, and they know perfectly internet environment in China and Chinese customers, and we know Western companies, and we know how to fulfill their needs. So we specialize in Chinese website design, Chinese search engine optimization and sponsored links, and also Chinese social media and mobile marketing. And I personally believe that Western companies cannot only become present on Chinese market, but they can also achieve a real financial success on it. And I wish you all that. Thank you very much.